Hey y'all, how y'all doing? So this is a new video. Today I'm going to be talking to you about, this may be a series, The Secrets of Astrology. And today I'm going to talk to you about the secret of astrological interpretation. And I'm going to be honest with you, the secret to astrological interpretation boils down to basically a game of word association. Now, if you were ever a child, you probably played this game before, where one person says a word and you're supposed to say the first thing that comes to your mind. You know, someone says hot, you say cold, dry, wet, you know, whatever. There's a very famous skit from the 70s on SNL, or Saturday Night Live, between Chevy Chase and Richard Pryor, where Chevy Chase is a recruiter or a hiring manager. He's interviewing Richard Pryor, and they do a game of word association as part of a battery of tests in order for Richard Pryor to get the job. And it starts out normal, but it just descends into them calling each other racial epithets, I guess. It was cutting edge for back then. Today, some people may find it offensive. But anyway, I don't know why I brought that up. Excuse me, I got a hair on my tongue. Anyway, so you all know how word association works, but in this game of word association for astrology, you're not using just any old word. You know, when someone says Mars, you might think about the candy bar. So the first thing you need to do if you're a student of astrology is you need to start collecting your keywords for the planets, the signs, the houses, and the aspects. And this is going to be the building blocks for your astrological interpretations. And before I go any further, in order to help you collect your keywords, this is one book that I recommend. It's called Keywords for Astrology by, and I'm probably not saying this right, Joe Banzaf and Anna Habler. This is the book, so that you can go over to Amazon or your local bookstore and purchase it if you want. Here you can write down the author's names, because again, I probably did not say it right. That's Astrological Keywords. Another book I recommend, hold on, his name is not on the cover, is the Rulership book by Rex E. Bills. And this is what my copy looks like. It's very old and falling apart. And here's this. I actually found this book in the thrift store. I'm very, very lucky finding things in my local thrift store. This tells you what things are associated with different astrological things. So like if you want to know, I'm just going to open it random, what the moon rules. Here's just a random page on the moon, and it starts at brain, and on this page it ends at expositions, and it does divide this up by planet, sign, and house. So if you want to know, you know, what house rules electricity, you can look it up in this book. I'm not going to look it up for you. You can go look it up. But these are two sources that I really recommend to help you collect your keywords. So you're going to collect keywords for all the planets, all the signs, and all of the houses. And the formula for applying these keywords is this. It's planet plus sign plus house is basically, the planet is what is happening, the sign is how it is happening, and the house is where it's happening. Okay? So let's look at an example. The big transition recently was Mars into Taurus. After a very long period of a little over 6 months where Mars was retrograde in Aries, Mars moved into Taurus. So let's look at some keywords for these things. First of all, we're going to start with Mars. Here we have the keywords for Mars, okay? I'm going to read them for you. Action, aggression, lust, anger, assertive, masculine, passive, energy, strength, conquest, drive, impatience, will, courage, restless, vigor, enterprising, decisive, combative, direct, forceful, impulsive, rude, cruel, and stubborn. Okay? Now I want to digress here for a minute to say this. This is 2021 as I make this video, and we live in a time now where gender associations and gender values have become blended. What was, what's considered male and what was considered female have blended, and then we have the, people who are fluid in their sexuality, fluid in their gender. But when these concepts were being formed, Mars was really associated with things that are male and masculine. And so when you think of Mars, you want to think about what are the best qualities of men. And when I say men, I don't mean humankind, I mean the male gender. What are the best qualities of men? And these are the qualities that come through when Mars is at a high vibration. When it's at a low vibration, the worst qualities of men are what Mars represented. So Mars can be your protector, that's the high vibration, or a bully, and that's the low vibration, okay? Now let's look at Taurus. This is Taurus. So some of the keywords for Taurus are patient, consistent, predictable, steady, materialistic, passive, dependable, comfort, value, sensual, laid back, practical, jealous, and artsy. And so again, just like with Mars, these quote unquote good qualities come through when there's a high vibration, and the bad qualities come through when there's a low vibration. Now I'm not going to cover the house quite yet because I want to start with this. So when an astrologer talks about Mars in Taurus and how it can manifest, that means that when Mars is in Taurus, Mars is in Taurus for everybody, right? But when Mars is in Taurus for everybody, and so that energy will manifest in a certain way, general. That means this is the prevailing sort of energy. So in order to figure out how Mars and Taurus will affect you, you have to look at what house Taurus is in your natal or birth chart. And I'm not gonna get that far yet. I'm gonna start with this. So one thing I did when I was first learning now is I got me some little index cards, and I wrote the keywords for all the planets, signs, and houses on separate ones. And so let's say when Mars was in Taurus, I would take out my index cards and I would lay it in front of me, sort of like this, so that I see all the key words. And I would just look at them, right? And I would look at them and I would think, what jumps out at me, right? So one thing I see right now is one keyword for Taurus is passive, and one keyword for Mars is aggression. That makes you think of someone who is passive aggressive. So that can be one way that Mars and Taurus sort of manifest in the world. You can see people being passive aggressive. Let's see, what else do I see here? Also, another word I see here is steady, and again, aggression. So, or you see also steady, impatience. So that can mean that people in general are impatient and they won't let up. Let's see what else here. Under Mars, I see enterprising, and I see under Taurus materialistic. So that could mean that people are more materialistic and are looking at ways to draw more material things to them. They are enterprising in the way that they do that. Another thing I see here is under Mars is decisive, and under Taurus is predictable. So what that means to me is that people will be more generally apt to make very quick decisions. It will be final decisions, but because Taurus is a very predictable sign, this is not someone who's going to take any risk. Whatever decision they make is going to be low risk. So this is how you start to interpret a planet and a sign. You just sort of string these keywords together to get an idea of it, and then you just write it out. Don't worry if it makes sense or not right now. Just Write it out. You know, when I wrote my book, Secrets of a Sissy Boy, I just started writing. Just write. You can go back and edit later, but get your ideas down on paper. And that's what you do with your keywords. You just sort of string your keywords together, write it down on paper, then you can go back and think about it and rewrite it in a more logical sense, or so that it makes more sense for you, right? So now let's bring in the houses. Okay, so like I said before, in order for you to understand how Mars and Taurus will affect you, you need to know where Taurus is in your birth chart. And I use the whole house system. That means the first house lines up with your ascendant and it goes all the way around. So my ascendant is Scorpio. So that means Scorpio is on my first house. So I would go Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus. Boom. 7th house. That means Mars in Taurus is in my 7th house. And so what does the 7th house rule? Here are some 7th house keywords, right? And they are marriage, partnerships and agreements of all kinds, contracts, business deals. So then again, to figure out what that means for me, I would take out my little cards, look at my keywords, Mars, Taurus, 7th house. And so again, we said passive aggressiveness. So I can probably expect to experience some passive aggressiveness in my relationships. Either I'm the one being passive aggressive, and I'm gonna be honest with you, that is a tendency that I have to do. I'm sort of a smart ass. What's the other thing we said? Predictable decisions. Okay, me, I tend to go the safe route. I have to tell you also, I naturally have Mars in Taurus in the 7th house in my birth chart. What that tells you is my Mars return is coming up when Mars hits the same degree it was in my birth chart. So to have Mars in Taurus in the 7th house right now, some of my natal characteristics are coming out stronger, even if it's bad things that I've tried to get away from. Like, for example, I know I'm a smart ass, I know I can be passive aggressive, but in my life I've learned, you know, when I can do it and it's funny, and when not to do it because it's hurtful. And that goes back to that high vibration, low vibration. Am I being a friend? Am I being a protector? Or am I being a bully? So anyway, that is how you would interpret Mars in Taurus and whatever house that is in your birth chart. So tell me, where does Mars in Taurus take place in your birth chart, and how do you think that will manifest for you? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to make some more. Maybe next time I'll talk about aspects and how to use your keywords to interpret them. And until next time, enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone.